Hi, Mitch here. This is the second video that I've done on diabetes. The first one was basically me finding out I had diabetes and getting over the shock of that and telling you that and telling you what I thought and what I didn't think. And this one is more, I've actually gone and done some research myself and some little stories about myself and how I'm coping with diabetes. I did the classic that everybody does, which is I went to the gym. Didn't like it, went every day for about 3 months, and I did lose some weight. But I stopped going, not because, well, it was my own reason. They changed the rules at the gym, so I wouldn't have had so much access, and I used that as an excuse to stop going, really. And I haven't been since, and I have put a little bit more weight on. So what I've done in this video is I've gone and done some research about what I can and what I can't do, and I'm going to share that with you, and hopefully that will help. And also, you know, they say that, oh, you can't eat sweets, you can't eat. Well, actually, that's not true. If you eat a really, really good meal, balanced meal, and you want to put a little something on the end of the meal, like a sweet or something, you actually can do that. Just be a little bit careful what it is, but you can actually do that because the balanced meal inside you will help filtrate all that through you anyway. So it's just they're saying don't eat a bar of chocolate. So that was quite interesting. I like rice pudding, for example. A company makes rice pudding in little containers, very high in sugar, but I really like them. And one of those is really, really nice. But I've not been able to eat anything like that, simply because I think I can't do it. And, well, you can do it if you eat a balanced diet. So this really is going to go through what is good and what isn't good for you, and we'll go from there. The problem that I have is that, like a lot of people that are a bit overweight, is that we like our food. Now, if my wife buys me a bar of chocolate, I will eat that bar of chocolate, regardless of the size of it. And if she buys me a small one, I'll moan, that's not very big. And this is just me being me. That's just what I do. And it's like, there's never enough roast potatoes, or there's never enough Yorkshire puddings, or so my point is, I eat to excess. And that's a really, really difficult thing to break, because if you eat something and you're still hungry, they say, well, you'll get used to it. Well, how long does that take? And I'm hoping, looking through the research that I'm doing and doing the things that I'm doing, that I'm going to find the answer to that. But, is there something out there that tastes as good, but is good for you? You know what? In all the research that I've been doing, the answer to that question is no. Nothing tastes as good as chocolate. Nothing. And no matter what they say, I went and bought I went out on the internet and I went and bought 250 grams of diabetic sweets. And I ate them all. Now that's fine, they're diabetic sweets, but they gave me really bad diarrhea. And the reason for that is because obviously what they're using instead of sugar turns out to be a laxative. Well, it did for me anyway. So now, do I eat diabetic sweets? Well, I'm a bit more dubious about eating them now. But yeah, just one of the things that I've done, and one of the questions that I've asked and still haven't got that answer. Another thing that I've noticed is that anything that's to do with diabetics or diabetes, and this probably is the same with any sort of alternative, is it's bloody expensive. I went out, like I said, and bought some of these diabetic sweets, which weren't particularly good, but they were really expensive. And average person on an average wage would never be able to afford these things on a daily basis. Anything that needs to be specialised, the marketing ploy is let's charge more for it. And I don't know if it actually costs more to produce. I suppose the argument is that they're producing these things in smaller quantities. However, there are so many diabetics in this country. Surely if they made these things at a reasonable price, more diabetic people would buy them. And let's be honest, most people that I know who are diabetic or are diabetics are from the lower domination wage range. So, you know, people that get diabetes tend to be people that can't necessarily afford to buy expensive foods. It's all very well if you're earning £50,000 a year and your food bill doesn't really matter to you. But when you're earning, you know, on a small pension like me, or you're earning a small wage of under £20,000 a year, your shopping bill each week is very, very important. And if you start adding in all these specialised foods, it becomes very, very expensive. I've also learnt something interesting about starchy foods. Apparently, the more starchy the food, the longer it processes sugar in the body, and the body can't get rid of the starchy food as quickly as fibred food, which causes the body to continue creating sugar. So this is why starch in the body is not as good, because the body can't get rid of it quick enough. And this is why, like potatoes and pastas and things, although they're very filling, the body continues creating sugar from them, and the body can't get rid of it long enough, therefore you overload on sugar. So starchy food really is not a good thing. So to avoid starch, we need to be eating fresher foods and more fibre, and I find that really interesting. Another thing that's come out of this for me is talking about things like carbohydrates. Now, to me, most foods that are high in carbs are the foods that I like potatoes and bread and all those sort of things. So I've been looking at the alternatives, and the alternatives aren't always, you know, what I like. I don't particularly like wholemeal bread and all that, but nevertheless, you know, I'm going to give it a try. But one of the most interesting things that came out of this was the portion control. Now, I was cooking the other day, for example, and I worked out that I'd cut up 4 large potatoes for 2 of us. Now, if I was making a meal of baked potatoes, I would do 1 each. And that would be with some cheese or some whatever on the potato. That would be my meal. And it dawned on me, I'm cooking a meal for my wife and I with tons of vegetables and meat, and I was using 4 potatoes for roast potatoes. And I thought, wow, that's actually, the potato part of that meal is a meal. So the next day I was looking into this and how I can sort of get over this. I found out that it was to do with portion control and the way you think about food and the way that you think what's on your plate. And if you look at your plate once and think, well, that's too much, it is. As simple as that. Also, when eating your food, it's the second that you think, oh, I've had enough, stop eating it. My theory is you can always go back. But the point is, stop eating it, because your body is telling you that's enough. If you continue eating, you're just going to feel really, really bloated. It takes, I think it's 10 to 15 minutes after a meal for your body to realise that it's full. So you can actually be overeating all the time. And all you're actually doing is stretching your stomach. To the point where your stomach's so big that you never seem to get it full. So I'm going to try and train myself to eat half portions and see if that works. Now, this is going to be a struggle for me because I like my food, but I am going to try it. So they always say things like, silly things to me, I think are silly things like, get smaller plates. Well, no, because I'll just put twice as much on it. Because we're thinking about psychology here, and my psychology, and I'm the only person that knows my psychology, and I know my abilities. And I've been alive for 54 years, I know what I am. No one can tell me just to change, because it doesn't work that way. It takes slow, when I stopped smoking, it took me, I smoked for about 20 years, but I never smoked in excess. I just smoked because I like to have a fag. It took me 2 years to stop smoking, and even now I still use one of these. I enjoy it, although now there's new evidence that these might be bad for you. So I stopped smoking. That was one of my biggest things. Silly things like biting my nails. I've just stopped biting my nails. The problem is with me, it's all or nothing. And it's taken me a long time to stop biting my nails. I have done it, but it's taken a long time. And every now and again I feel my fingers going towards my mouth. But all these little irritations are all part of my personality. My personality, I thought, was quite neutral. But in actual fact, I'm quite an addictive character. And I'm either addicted to something or it's all or nothing. And food is an addiction. Or necessity at least, but an addiction. So this is become really, really interesting to see how I go. So as you've noticed, I'm putting in between little bits of video some facts and some figures about diabetes. Now I don't want this to go on and be a sermon, so I'm going to leave it at that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to record on a daily basis a little piece of what I've eaten that day and how I feel about that. And I'll leave that for about a month, and then I'm going to go over it and have a look at it, and I'll probably put it on a video and show you what my dietary needs have been, and I'll tell you how I feel about that. Now that might be me being really, I didn't enjoy that, or yeah, I feel better. But from my own knowledge about these sort of things, I won't enjoy this. It'll just take a while to get used to it, and we'll see how long it takes me to get used to it. But if you enjoy this video, well, not necessarily enjoy it, but you find it useful, and you need to know something else, just ask me, because if you ask me a question, I will go and research it and I will respond to that question, either by email or on a video, depending on what you want. But it's really, what interests me about this thing most of all is I would like to know if there are other people out there that are struggling like me. I remember the day that I was told I had diabetes. I sort of knew there was something wrong, and I sort of knew what it probably was, because we have diabetes in our family anyway, so the chance of me getting diabetes was going to be pretty high, and I was doing absolutely nothing to prevent that from happening. So I would really be interested if anybody out there just leaves a comment about how they feel about this, so to guide me in the right direction. Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Because all of this is very personal to me, and it may not even be the same for you. And if it's not the same for you, that makes it even more interesting, because overwhelmingly when you go to a diabetic clinic and you talk to one of the nurses or the doctors about diabetes, the overall feeling that I get is that all diabetics are the same, you have to do the same things, and that's not true. You're all individuals, because it might be easy for someone to just go and do that, but the next person it may be difficult. And how many times as a nurse I heard or saw diabetics scrumming food or not doing the right thing, and me thinking to myself, well, just do the right thing, do you want to live? But the reality is, you are responsible for yourself, and if you don't want to look after yourself, that's your choice. But the people out there can only do what they can do with the amount of facilities they've got and resources they've got. Most of this, 90% of this, maybe more, is down to me. And I would really, really, really like anybody, no matter which part of the world you come from, because I'm sure in different countries it's completely different. But I'm pretty sure that ultimately it comes down to you and willpower. And it will be great to have some contact and some sort of verbalization between us to find out what your problems are and what you're struggling with, and we can chat about that. So I'm going to leave it at that, and hopefully people will watch this and we will see if anybody's interested. Okay, thanks so much.